Welcome to the SAG-AFTRA Foundation's Conversation at Home program. I'm Jazz Tanke, Senior Auditions Editor of Variety. Now, without further ado, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce actor Jabari Banks of BelAir. Hello,
What's going
Jabari.
on? That was
Welcome.
great. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you so much for being here. I am just going to dive right on in and ask you what it was like to step into the Fresh Prince. And here, I was going to say shoes, but I think sneakers would be the right word.
Sneakers, yeah, the sneaks for sure. Yeah, no, it was. I'm not gonna lie, it was frightening at first. It was a little frightening, but I got great affirmations from Morgan Cooper, our creator, and Will Smith, and they've been big brothers to me during this whole process, and so they reminded me to just lean into my own instincts and my upbringing, and they chose me for me, and so that's what I did throughout this whole process, and it has been an amazing opportunity to be an extension of this legacy. This is America's baby. You know what I mean? This is a quintessential '90s show, and so the fact that we're bringing it back, it's like we're standing on shoulders of giants, and so it was frightening at first for sure, but when we got in the swing of things, I felt that what we had was special, and it's been received really well.
Yeah, I know. We'll talk about the reception later, but I mean, like you said, you are standing on the shoulders of giants. The show, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, is such a cultural, pop culture show. Generations are still watching it. It's on, it's on reruns. What did it mean to you growing up? Like, talk about that.
Fresh Prince was everything. It was everything. Literally meant everything to me. We had the 6-season box set. We had Christmas sweaters. You know what I mean? I loved the Fresh Prince. I dressed up as him in high school multiple times during Halloween. I literally dressed up as Fresh Prince, as Will Smith, last Halloween. And so, it has been it has such a cultural impact on me and my family and my culture around me and my community and my city. It means the world to us. And so it's dope that I get to be a part of this process. Yeah. I grew up watching The Fresh Prince. I still fall asleep to the episodes, literally. Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of those shows that you can just have on in the background or you can watch, and it's just, you dip in and out anywhere.
It's definitely a comfort show. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So talk about your audition process, like how this came your way and how it got to you, because this is like, you've done short films before, right? But this is like your first big series.
Yeah. I did a short film with my friend in Philly for his project, his senior project, which was dope. But this was my first time like in front of like a 40-person camera crew and everything. So it was crazy. But the process was dope, and it was pure, because it was me versus me, because I feel like a lot of times as artists, we always tear ourselves down when we get in those audition rooms, because we're like, oh, that guy, it's like 7 of us, and we all kind of got the same look, but he's done this, and he's a little, fits the part a little more. But for this one, it was over Zoom, and so it was just me versus me, and I feel like that was important to just, really just be on the straight and narrow and, put your blinders on and just focus on you. And sometimes I struggle to do that as an artist, and I recognize that. But for this process, it was special, and for that reason. And so my dad actually sent me this article, probably 2 months before I actually got the call. He was like, yo, they're doing like another Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. You'd be perfect for that. And he was like, you should like contact them. And I was like, I'd love to do that, but I can't just call up Will Smith and, ask him for it. It's like, that's not how auditions work. And so I let that go. And two months later, I actually got the call from my manager, my agents. And so I sent in my audition. I was living in Philly at the time. And it's funny because I was like, I need to get out of Philly. You know what I mean? I was like, okay, so I ended up moving to New York as soon as I sent that audition. Like a couple of days later, I moved to New York. And I remember I had went through 3 spots because I didn't have a secure place to live. And I was living with friends at the time, sleeping on the couches, but I was trying to find my own spot, and each spot was like falling through. And I was like, it feels like I'm not supposed to be here. Like something is off. So I ended up going to this hole in the wall store, and I got this Evil Eye bracelet. And I was like, I just need something to work in my life. You know what I mean? Because I was like auditioning for this and that was great. But I was also like sleeping on my friends' couches, and I felt shitty about that. And so I was like, I just need something to work. And it was crazy because I had to really surrender to this process. And it's really been a spiritual process for me. And so I ended up booking the job. It's actually in my friend's closet when I booked it. And and 2 days later, I was in LA for the first time, doing screen tests and fittings. And then 5 days after that, I went back to Philly. And so we started filming the pilot, and I was like, I was supposed to be in Philly. I was just supposed to be there. Yeah. And it's funny how the universe just brings you back to, where you're supposed to be.
Yeah. What an incredible story. Do you still have the evil eye bracelet too?
I do. This is the bracelet right here. All right. I got New York. Haven't let it go yet. Hasn't broken yet.
Wow. There you go. See, it's a lucky charm.
Exactly. There it is. Boom.
But, it's about resilience too, right? Mm-hmm. And you're also auditioning and doing something during a pandemic. Because this was what, a year and a half? I've lost sense of time, right? But
yeah, a year, not even a year, like 8 months ago, 9 months ago, last September.
What were the challenges of that? Because first of all, moving from Philly to New York is daunting. It's an actor's journey that so many actors do. I bet you so many people are sitting here watching this right now being, yep, I feel you, Jabari. I've been through that. What was it that just was like, I'm going to keep going forward and keep trying?
Yeah, I mean, because if you don't keep moving forward, then you just stop. You know what I mean? And you don't get any closer. And so I always have the mindset to just keep pushing and keep working hard, and something's gonna work itself out. Like I'm reading The Alchemist right now. It's actually right here. Reading The Alchemist right now, and then there's a great quote in it, and it says, when you want something, all the universe conspires into bringing it to you. And so, like I always say, like, if you bring your heart to it, the universe is going to work itself out. God's going to bring it to you. You just got to be ready when it comes. And I always knew that my time was going to come. And so I felt like I was ready for this. Mind, body, spirit, I had to get it in order. I had to get everything ready. And that's how I was preparing over quarantine, just, working and studying and watching and learning all different types of movies, all different types of shows, all different types of art. I do all different types of art as well. And so it was important. I remember I was in Miami, and I was speaking with a friend, and he was telling me about Kobe Bryant, Mamba mentality. And he was like, if Kobe was sitting in a room full of like 10 basketball players, and they were like the top of their class, the top of their craft, Kobe was talking to the random dude over there who was like the best janitor in the world, because he wanted to see how, He wanted to see how, he got to that place in his space. And so that's definitely how I was learning too, just from different artists and different art, and, taken from different facets of art that I do, like, visual artists or music and stuff like that, and bringing that to my acting as well, and see how I can apply those pieces to my work. Yeah.
You talk about, the pilot and being on set for that first day. Like you said, it's a multi-camera crew. Yeah. This incredible cast of of actors around you. Mm-hmm. What was that like? Like, how did you prepare to, for that first day?
It's interesting because I feel like that's one of those things that you really can't prepare for. Like you just have to do the work. You know what I mean? Like before, and I guess that's the preparation. But I'm walking on 60th and Market. This is like a street that I've walked on multiple times, and where everything's blocked off. Everyone's standing around watching, like, what are they filming? Oh, they're filming the Fresh Prince. There's a guy with the boombox. He goes, Will Smith. I'm from West Philadelphia, like Will Smith. There's, song music playing. The whole city's out there. And so I'm like, oh my God, what did I get myself into? And so it was me and Abel Parker Jones, who plays Vi. And we're walking down the street. We're doing our first scene ever. And I just remember the feeling. I was just like, I'm so ready. I'm just going to like give my all to this process and just surrender. And it's all going to work itself out. That's all I can do, is just do my work and be the best me that I can be every day. But it was such a beautiful, beautiful experience to be, to have that be the first scene that we filmed in the pilot. It's crazy.
Yeah. It is such a fresh show for this generation, but
Mhm.
also, like Will Smith is such an icon to generations. Like,
Yes.
talk about making this character your own, and like whether it was the challenges or like what was your approach to putting the Jabari stamp on Will Smith as
Yeah.
such.
Yeah. It was just important to lean into the authenticity of the story and to lean into the reality of what was going on, what's happening in this 16-year-old young man's life. And, he gets in trouble and he moves across the country, leaves everything he knows, and he gets thrown into this life that he knows nothing about. And so it's about, him learning that etiquette. I'm still learning that etiquette myself. And so it's so interesting because my life and Will, the character's life, parallels so interestingly. Like I was out to dinner last night and they were like, "Oh, you're not going to put the napkin on your lap before you eat?" And I was like, "Oh, that's what that's for." I would usually wipe my mouth with it and leave it on the table. But so there's like 4 different types of forks and everything now. And so I'm still trying to figure all of that stuff out. But anyway, I digress. that is our lives parallel in such a specific way. And so I felt like I had to lean into the authenticity of that and just bring myself to what was going on in this role. And so when you see Will and Jazz on Mulholland Drive for the first time, that's Will's first time and that's Jabari's first time. And I always tell that story because that's so specific, and so serendipitous. And so I love that was that's what it's going to continue to be that way for sure throughout this whole storyline that we're making. And so that's so dope. It's so dope as a first project. Yeah.
Did you talk about working with Will and chatting to him and, learning from him?
Yeah. I actually was on the phone with Will like this morning. And it's crazy because like where I'm at right now as an artist, I'm like, I need to learn discipline. I need to have a routine because I know when I'm on set, I'm very disciplined. I'm very, I know what I'm doing and this is what I'm going to do. And I'm not going to steer away from that. And I'm very, eyes on the prize. But, when I get away from the set, I'm like, I'm waking up at 10, 11. I'm like, I don't know. I don't got nothing to do. I got a routine. You know what I mean? And I was like, how did he create that routine, or, was it learned or was it taught? You know what I mean? And so it's dope to be able to just like have conversations like that with him and just like, be able to get some knowledge as an artist. And, not be on the nose on how do you move, because everybody's story is different, And so just getting gems and getting knowledge from him has been so dope throughout this whole process. And it's amazing for me because it really shows that he really trusts me, with this role. Because, he's not like, "Oh, no, you got to do it like this. You got to do it like this." He was like, "No, this kid is right." You know what I mean? He knows what he's doing. And so I had to, like I say, with this process, there's little room for error, but there's no room for doubt. You know what I mean? And so it's been dope to work with him and to be able to craft this role with him in this career.
Yeah. What is it like for you in the world of TV? Because the world, TV moves at a really fast pace. You're shooting 1-2 episodes a week, you're blocking, you're rehearsing. Talk about that experience and how you navigate that,
I love it.
Navigated it.
Navigate. Yeah, I love it. That's just how I move in general as a person. People will tell you that all the time. Like I was in Philly, like at school, and I was doing like 5 shows at once because I just love to just keep moving. And I love moving. And that's how my mom is too. She's like a superwoman. And I feel like I get it from her. And so like, I felt like, definitely COVID was one of the bigger challenges of this season that we had to get over because, there was a lot of protocol that we had to go through before we got on set. But once we got there, I was ready to go. Makeup, hair, let's go rehearse. Then we do this scene. Oh, we're doing this scene, episode 3. What? We're doing reshoots. Okay, cool. Let's do it. You know what I mean? I love working like that. So TV is great in that way for me.
Yeah. How did you grow as an actor from that pilot to like shooting the last scene of the season?
Oh my God, tremendously. So much. So I feel like I grew as an actor because, like, for me, one of the biggest lessons that I learned is that like the camera is another scene partner. You know what I mean? We have to see that emotion. You can't hide that. You know what I mean? I feel like there's been a lot of emotional scenes with this being a drama. And so whenever I cry, I'm like, oh, I want to drop my hands into my head. And like, no, we need to see that in your eyes, you know? And so I learned to use that camera as a second scene partner, you know? And so that was a huge one for me. And just on set, like the on-set language, I knew that if I was going to get good at anything, you have to learn the language, you know? First, whether that be in basketball, whether that be in acting, whether that be an actual language, you know? And I studied that language. And so like when it comes to like little like lingo, when it comes to like 10-1, like what does that mean on set? And like, you know, like little things like that. So I definitely learned a lot throughout the season 1 for sure. As an actor and just as an artist and leaving space for other artists to create and be collaborative. And the team has been really great with doing that. TJ and Rashid and Morgan and everybody who's worked with this process are beautiful collaborators, you know?
Yeah. The dynamic too with the rest of the cast is phenomenal. And you see that like, you know, through every scene, every episode, like we were in the middle of a pandemic, but did you get to hang out? Like, how did that bond?
Oh,
like,
we hung out. Oh, we hung out for sure. I literally just saw Ali and Jordan 2 days ago. We hang out all the time. I literally saw me and Adrian live in the same like apartment complex, condo complex, or whatever it's called. So I literally saw him yesterday at the gym. We hang out all the time. And naturally as a cast, my big thing is just let it flow naturally. Let people come to you naturally. Let people leave naturally. Let people like, you know, organically. And so like come as you are type. And so and come when you want. And so I allowed space for that. And we allowed space for that as artists. And, you know, we go out all the time just as friends and kick it. And Morgan always says, if you're going to tell the story of a family, you have to build a family, you know? And so we did that organically. And I felt like that's why it makes this show so special, because it's real. The love is real. The love is actually genuinely real. And we share a lot of common interests. We sing a lot on set. We're always singing. And so I'm so grateful that this is you know, the cast and the crew of the first people that I'm working with and this on this level, because it's definitely shaping me and setting the tone for how I want to move with all the other projects that I move on, because, you know, we move with diligence and generosity and authenticness and just genuine joy and genuine kindness. And I feel like everything flows from that. Yeah.
Talk about you talked about like, you know, the discipline of being on a set and what you have to do. Take us through your process, like how you prepped every day.
Yeah. So I read the script all the time, just read it back and forth, upside down, sideways, diagonal, read the script, and then I let it go. I just let it go. And then I get to skip the set and they have the sides right there. I'm like, okay, this is what we're doing today. Lock in on that. Lock in on this emotion. Lock in on this. As soon as I'm in my trailer, I'm reading that. When I'm going through hair and makeup, I have that with me. And so that's how I start to prepare. We go and we, you know, block it out. You know, we rehearse in the space. And so I lean into what's happening in the script. And so, that's usually how I prepare for each scene, from scene to scene. I just lean into what's actually happening and you know, go in with no expectations of this is how it's supposed to be, you know? Yeah. Just being open and allowing for the other artists to create as well. Like, oh, that's the choice that you made. Oh, interesting. Okay, cool. And not being set in your ways on this is how this is, you know what I mean? This is how I'm supposed to feel in this moment, because you never know how, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, I thought that was how that was going to work, but now I'm like, okay, no. You know what I mean? So that's how I usually prepare, just being open.
Yeah. I remember when the first episode, when it dropped, and just the reaction, the show, people loved the show, and the response to it was so great. What was that like for you, given the amount of pressure that you had, like stepping into it, like, you know, 8 months before?
There was for sure a little bit of Nana Boo Boo, I told you. But like overall, like I was like just so happy that everyone, you know, showed so much support and so much love for the project, because there was so much love poured into it. I knew that there was no way that there wasn't gonna get love back. And I, you know, I was just happy. I was happy that we were able to pull it off in a genuine, authentic way, in a way that resonated with people. because that's, we realized that, it's what they did in the 90s was lightning in a bottle. You can't recreate that. And so like, we are shaping and molding and crafting a story and a vision and a legacy of our own. And that was important for us. And so the fact that people are taking to it in the way that they are is so beautiful.
Yeah. What was there a moment like what was the most challenging scene for you to shoot?
Interesting. Ooh, there was a couple of challenging scenes. I feel like maybe the biggest one that's resonating on my heart right now is the one with me and Marlon Wayans, who plays Lou in the show. That scene, because everything was building up to that scene. I think a lot of people don't know. We shot that scene after the premiere happened. So like, show is out and we still didn't know who's playing Lou. They're still trying to figure it out because it was, contract things and time. And so, there's a lot of factors that came into it and they ended up landing on Marlon. So I was like, okay, cool. Marlon Wayans is going to play my dad. What does that mean? And so that was the last scene that we shot on season 1 was that scene. And it was so emotional. And it was not only that because it was the last scene, but the scene itself was so emotional, and we really brought the heat. And I was going to bring the heat, and I knew he was going to bring the heat, and we really elevated each other's performance through that. And because a lot of those messages definitely resonate with me in my life and in Marlon's life. So that was definitely one of the more difficult ones to shoot. And a lot of that was improv too. Just real emotional.
I was going to say, like, obviously a lot of the stuff is scripted, but like, did you have room to improv? And what's that like for you? Because that's where you really get to run with this character that you're given.
Yeah. They gave us tremendous room to improv. And the writing team is so collaborative in that way that I loved it. And not only just in that scene, like just throughout the show in general with the lingo, the Philly lingo, like, they would write something and then I'd read it and I'd go like, oh, I see what you're trying to say, but actually we would kind of say it like this. And so like, I would have to shape it in that way. And they were so collaborative with that process. And so that was so dope. And I love improv. I love improv. I feel like that's where that juicy stuff, comes out for sure. It's like just a little left of what's actually on the page, Yeah.
Yeah. Why do you think this show really has really resonated with audiences? Because the thing is, like with reboots and, like when something's so established, it's always difficult. But this was, like you said, received with open arms but on a society, and everybody who's watching it loves it. But why do you think it landed so well?
So I think it just two things. It's really started from a pure place. Just a creator, from Kansas City, Missouri, and he's driving under an overpass, and the idea struck him, and he used his own money to create this trailer. Just out of pure love for the show and out of pure love for the art and for the craft. This is what he wanted to do. We put it on YouTube, and I don't think he ever expected it to blow up like this. Morgan Cooper is a genius, and that's my big brother, and I'm so grateful to be a part of this process with him. But it started from a pure place, it wasn't born in an executive boardroom where it was, money grab or whatever, and so that's one thing, and two, it's a universal story. It's a coming of age story. And that's something that we could all resonate with being a fish out of water and not knowing how you're going to make your next move or where you're going in life. And so that's something that we can all resonate with. And I definitely resonate with in my life. And so that's why I feel like it works, and it's just from an authentic place. It's from a truly authentic place. And so I feel like that's why people resonate with it.
And you are a musician too, in your spare time.
Yes.
Are we going to see some music in season 2 or more? Yeah.
Yes, you will. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm not pushing for spoilers. I'm like,
oh yeah, no spoiler. No, like, no, you will. This is actually a manifestation right here. You for sure will. Yeah.
Manifesting it right here in this conversation. Yeah. I love that so much. Okay. What advice would you give now that you've had a full season and with a second season ahead, but what advice would you give to young actors out there?
Oh, that's a great question. Just keep going. keep going, keep growing, keep transforming, keep reshaping, reinventing yourself, reimagining yourself. Don't ever put yourself in a box and say, oh, this is who I am. Keep working and keep studying. The world is your classroom. Always be a student. Always learn from anything, not just actors. Learn from your family, and learn from your friends, and learn from your teachers, and learn from the guy on the subway. You know what I mean? And so there's, you can learn from everything, everywhere, all at once. So yeah. That's what I would say.
That's amazing advice. Jabari, on behalf of the SAG-AFTRA Foundation, thank you so much for sharing your experience and your process and your craft with your fellow performers. And thank you so much for that incredible conversation.
Thank you. This is great.
Thanks so much.